Good afternoon. Over the last few days, one of the features of the hours, over the last few years rather, one of the features of the hours before a State of the Nation address is what's been, I suppose you could call a fashion parade. Politicians, their partners, walking onto the red carpet in Parliament dressed in, well, absolute finery. Now there's a suggestion that, in fact, that should change, that opulence should no longer be on display. Lorenzo Davids is the CEO of the Development Impact Fund. He joins us now. Lorenzo, good afternoon to you. You're suggesting there should be big changes. What do you believe MPs should be wearing tomorrow on the red carpet?
Good afternoon, Stephen, and good afternoon to your viewers. Yeah, it's a question that I think we are all asking. What should they be wearing? I think we've reached a point in this country where the inequalities are so stark, Stephen. Energy inequality, safety inequality, living standards inequalities, that what we see our MPs doing on the red carpet is a bit nauseating. The opulence is quite infuriating. The fact that our public representatives do not display the interest of the public, but rather this selfish, willful display of what they can afford in the light of 30 million people living with extreme poverty. Stephen, those are the things that they should ponder as they dress up tomorrow.
I suppose it's also, in some ways, MPs would be dressing up on a salary paid to them by the people.
Yeah, and those people who pay their salaries, most of them cannot afford to do what those MPs are doing. The fact that this kind of experience, this kind of situation we sit with is confronting us today is the fact that MPs know this truth. They know this reality. This is not strange to them, that people are suffering, people are dying, kids can't get to school, homes are destroyed, there's no energy, people have been without water. The fact that in the face of that, they will perpetuate this culture that they've been doing for the last 10, 15 years of making their entrance into the sacred assembly of our Constitution. That assembly they treat as if it's a fashion parade, as if it's a gala moment for them, as if it's a showcase of their wealth. It is not that, Stephen. They walk in there as the sacred representatives of the people. And the people they represent cannot identify with who's walking on that red carpet anymore.
One of the things about the opening of Parliament is that it's supposed to be a big state event, and by that I mean it's a symbol of things. So it's a symbol of what we're trying to do, but it's also formal. It's supposed to be formal. Sometimes the way that people are dressed sort of determines how they're supposed to behave. Should it not be a moment for us to show off our different cultures, to show off where we're from in South Africa, to show off our diversity? Doesn't dress do that, the way we dress? Doesn't it show a diversity in a way?
Oh, absolutely. We are a culture with a very rich heritage and a very rich diversity, and that's to be celebrated. What we've seen, Stephen, is that there's a glimpse of that within the opening of Parliament, but the overwhelming representation has been a fashion display. And we know that people have been interviewed on who made their gowns. Many have been interviewed about, what they are wearing and where they bought it. It is a bit bizarre, quite frankly, that we've gone down this route of treating this like it's the Emmys or the Oscars, where people's clothes is the focus of media attention, when the perspective should be on what are you hoping to achieve this parliamentary cycle? What are you here to listen to as priorities from the president? What do you believe we should be doing urgently to fix the energy inequalities, the living standards inequalities, the safety inequalities, the unemployment crisis? So I want the discussion to be on the work of MPs, not the dress of MPs. Given the fact that yes, this is a moment to celebrate culture and tradition and to bring that out to the fore. What we are seeing is very little of that and more of, listen, this is how smart I can dress.
So, we'll have a lot of reporters. Everyone will have reporters on the red carpet tomorrow. Do you believe they should ignore what people are wearing?
I think Parliament should not roll out a red carpet. I think that's just a bizarre notion. Stephen, again, I'm using this word bizarre over and over, but quite frankly, I have no other word for it. Why are parliamentary officials walking on a red carpet here? For goodness sake, folk, this is a country in crisis. I want them just to arrive and walk into the assembly and sit down and say, let's get on with the business. South Africans are so furious, and I've spoken to so many people, so furious at this sense of pride and arrogance that has filled our public representatives, when we pay their salaries, when we put them in those offices, and there is a sense of ignoring the plight of those who put them there. Now, I don't believe that, one should not spend and dress up smartly. A great suit, a great dress, yeah, certainly. But to go to the extent that we've gone, especially over the last 10 years, of this being, in fact, an interview about who made their clothes and where did they buy it and what does it represent, that's nonsense, Stephen. And it's nonsense because I want a discussion on, sir, as you go into this assembly, what is your view on the energy inequality? Sir, as you go into this assembly, or as you leave this assembly, what is your view on the state of violence in South Africa, or on public transport, or on food security, or on the fact that 30 million people live below the food poverty line? Those are the questions interviewers should be asking them. That should be the focus of the Sona, not the dresses or the dress and the wear of our public representatives. In fact, it should not be a discussion. It should be avoided. It should be ignored. And I hope, as I've made this call, Stephen, that nobody should walk on that red carpet as a sign of protest and identification with those who do not have access to red carpet treatment in this country, that our representatives should say to the people, I will not walk on this red carpet because none of my people will ever be able to do this. Not until these things are fixed. The 7 priorities in our country: energy, justice, inequality, food security, education. Unless those things are fixed, none of us should be walking on a red carpet in this democracy at this point.
Well, Cyril Ramaphosa, the Speaker of the National Assembly, was, I understand, asked about this today and whether there needs to be a red carpet. Her response was that this is a long-running tradition. I think this tradition does go back many, many years, but also that it is a practice followed in many other countries. How do you respond to that?
Stephen, it is how we define our democracy. The fact that it's tradition, cool. The fact that we are questioning that tradition, that's what should be up for discussion. The fact that in other countries, the UK and other societies in Europe, they may be doing this, that's not the reason why we should be. And we should have, Stephen, a different view on our public representatives.